Welcome back to another live stream in our language nutrition series this month in September. It's also NICU Readathon month, so I don't know if your unit is participating in that, but in this presentation, you're going to hear from two individuals from Cedars-Sinai in Los Angeles, California. You're going to hear from Amanda Williams, who is the clinical nurse specialist, and then you're going to hear from Joanne, the child life specialist for the NICU. The two of them have partnered together to create this language program in their NICU, and I hope that you'll learn so much from them as they're just getting started, some of the ideas they had for getting funding and getting support, and the different stakeholders that they needed to talk to make this happen. So I hope that you enjoy this presentation, and we'll see you at the end.
I'm so excited to introduce our next set of speakers. We have Amanda Williams, a NICU nurse and aspiring leader who is passionate about neuroprotective care in the NICU, improving bonding between families and their newborns, and inspiring nurses from novice to expert to continue their education and participate in quality improvement to promote best practices in the NICU. And we have Joanne Odono, who is a child life specialist for 20 years and an active member of the Association of Child Life Professionals. Although her specialization is in hematology oncology and grief and bereavement, she also works in critical care and trauma settings at Cedars-Sinai, and she most recently started providing support in the neonatal intensive care unit. So welcome, ladies.
Okay, you guys can see it okay?
Yes.
Great. Well, thank you
Okay,
again. Again, my name is Amanda Williams. I'm the nurse educator here at Cedars-Sinai NICU. I've been a NICU nurse for 12 years, 10 of them here at Cedars. And Joanne?
Joanne Odono. I'm one of the child life specialists here at Cedars-Sinai. Been here 20 years and 2 to 3 years here in the NICU.
We're going to talk about our reading program, our NICU reading program, which is still very new. So for those of you who don't have a reading program, we're going to talk about briefly about the benefits. We're going to talk about how we initiated our reading program, the strategies we use for data collection, our barriers and our successes, and then our future goals for our NICU reading program. We have no disclosures, and all the families and babies pictured did provide us consent to share their photos and videos. So just a little bit of background here at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center NICU. We are a level 4 NICU in Los Angeles area. We have a very large delivery service. We typically have around 7,000 to 8,000 deliveries a year. And our NICU census fluctuates from 20 to 40 patients, but our average daily census is around 28. Our NICU is an open bay unit with 45 beds. So as everybody has discussed, reading to babies is just so beneficial to their growth and their development. Developing a reading program has really been a passion project of mine for years. I remember maybe 5 years ago working the night shift, and I was holding this baby and I was talking to him and he's looking at me, and I was like, I wish I had a book that I could just read to you. I feel like that would be really beneficial. So instinctively, we all know that reading is good for our babies, and especially our babies in the NICU. We all know that they're such a high-risk population. Many of them are born way too early, and they have to develop in our abnormal NICU environment instead of the safe, warm, contained space of their mom. And others are born term, but they are very sick, and they have to cope with being sick and being separated from their parents. So some of the reports in the literature describe how reading to babies provides the parents a really specific intervention that encourages positive routines and helps them feel like a parent while they're in the NICU. And of course, other studies have shown higher cognitive development scores when our preterm babies are read to in the NICU once they reach 2 years old. So with all of that, we kind of knew, my slide's not going, we knew we need a reading program. So as we read the literature, learned all of the things about the reading programs all over the country, like Lexi and Melanie's program, we really wanted to start a reading program in our NICU. So what we did in July 2020, we began working on the reading program by starting with a literature review. We didn't want to recreate the wheel, and we needed to get evidence so that we could get buy-in from our team. So next we identified our stakeholders to see who would be interested in helping with our program. The entire project was really a collaborative effort between nursing and child life specialists and our wonderful family council of NICU graduate parents. We presented the idea to our NICU graduate family council, and they really loved the idea of creating a reading program. They were very supportive, and they really felt that it was important that we had to do this because this was July 2020, so I don't have to remind any of you that we were in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. So we had a lot of planning to do. We wanted to create a fun name, and we needed to determine whether we would use e-readers versus actual books. So we thought from an infection control standpoint that e-readers would probably be better. However, we needed our EIS team to work with us to upload a platform on the existing tablets that we had in the NICU, and we didn't get a lot of headway with that. So with feedback from our family council, we decided instead to use physical books that could be cleaned in between each use. And then we also brainstormed to think of a fun name for our program. So we surveyed our family council, and they came up with some great names. Joanne is really good at coming up with good names. So some of our favorites were Once Upon a Hug, Snuggles and Scholars, and our favorite, Storytime Snuggles. So Storytime Snuggles was born. In August of last year, 2020, we introduced Storytime Snuggles to our staff during our collaborative practice meeting, and that meeting has physicians, nurses, social workers, respiratory therapy, physical therapy, speech, everybody attends this meeting, and they were all very supportive as well. The unit purchased a small supply of board books so that we could clean them in between each use. And we had many families and staff that donated books to the NICU. So we purchased a cart that we could keep the books at the front desk, and families could check out the book when they arrive in the NICU.
So to increase awareness and encourage participation in the reading program, we created a bulletin board that you'll see on the left, which is centrally located where parents and families can view it easily as they enter and exit the unit. It features photos of different children's books, as well as a write-up about the benefits of reading, talking, and singing to their babies. To the right, you see a photo of the beginnings of our library of board books that we lend out to families. So in September, we launched our reading program with a bang. We hosting a readathon. We participated in the Babies with Books multi-site readathon, and we made tickets for our families to submit for each reading session they did. And that served as a raffle ticket entry to win a gift basket, which is the photo on the left. The readathon was exciting for our NICU, and we had families and all members of the team reading to our babies. So that included our nurses, our social workers, RTs, doctors, everybody was very involved. The readathon lasted for 10 days, and we had 116 reading events total in the NICU, which was really amazing. So from 0 to that was really cool. So the picture in the middle is the readathon table that we had set up. As the parents enter or exit the NICU, they can take a ticket, fill it out, put it in the drop box, and it's just easy and convenient for everyone. We also made pins. I don't know if you could see it on the bear. We made pins that our staff, our nurses wore, our RTs, all the therapists wore, and some said reading is lit, some said future bookworm, and others said reading is my jam. We just wanted to really make it fun for everyone. So in the gift basket, we had included several books, a blanket, and a onesie that said future bookworm. So we really just tried to make it fun for everyone. Let's see, what's our next photo? We're gonna share more pictures with you. So Halloween, for many years, we've been fortunate to have volunteers who make Halloween costumes for all of our NICU patients. Fortuitously enough, we have been incorporating children's books as a theme for the last 3 years, so that each costume is paired with a matching book that the families can keep along with the costume. So the costumes are really beautiful and they're elaborate, and they bring fun and normalcy to the unit, while the books promote reading and bonding between patients and their parents' caregivers. Here we have featured Thing 1 and Thing 2, the Rainbow Fish, Daniel the Tiger, and Penguin Pumpkin. just to name a few. And then for the holidays, we've really taken every opportunity to incorporate reading into our special events. And so for the holiday last year, we collaborated with Nursing Child Life and our spiritual care services, and we asked our rabbi and Christian chaplain to record themselves reading Shmelf, the Hanukkah Elf book, and 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. So the video and the audio of these stories were made available on our hospital channel, as well as on the Alexa devices that are installed in each of our NICU bays. So the stories were played at bedtime during Hanukkah and Christmas last year.
So after the readathon and all the holidays, we really wanted to keep the reading going. But one of our biggest challenges was, and really still is, around data collection. We have a phrase in our NICU that's what gets measured gets done. So we really wanted to know how much reading is happening in our NICU. We can't always have a prize or a raffle to entice our families to read to their babies. So we tried continuing with parents filling out slips that were similar to the tickets from the readathon. Every time the family read to their baby, we asked them to fill out one of the slips and turn them in at the front desk with the book when they leave for the day. And when the family filled out the ticket for a raffle, it worked really great, but with just handouts just to tell us they read, it didn't work so well. So we often found them around the units, or they were very rarely turned in. They were under the bedside chart. We discussed with our group that we really felt like the families already have a lot to fill out. Mom's pumping 8 times a day and writing on those breast milk labels, and we didn't really want to put them to work too much. So we tried asking the nurses to document the reading in the medical record. Anytime a baby was read to go in our medical record and just chart that the baby was read to in the flow sheets. Unfortunately, this was also challenging because when we started our reading program, there was no row to document reading. So the nurses had to write a comment to specify that the baby was read to. And even when the reading was documented in the medical record, it was really difficult to extract that data. It was time consuming. We'd have to go to the flow sheet and find where they wrote the comment. It was just very challenging. So we wanted the data to not be too complex for, at least for the beginning stages. So we tried to think of another simple way to find out how much reading was happening in the NICU. So for 2021, we developed a calendar for our data collection. Like I said, we wanted it to be as easy as possible for the staff to document and for us to review. So in January, we placed these calendars in the back of each bay and asked the nurses to write a tick mark on the date every time a baby was read to. So just a little tick, as you can see, I think on the 1st and 2nd of that month. So in January, we placed these calendars in the back of every bay and asked the nurses to write that tick mark. The nurses told us, yeah, that's easy, we can do that, and we'll try. So here's our data from our readathon and through when we started our calendar. So when we initiated it, it started off pretty good, but as time went on, we found that the calendars weren't working as well as we had hoped. They were covered up in the back of the bays. The nurses shared that they're busy, so they would forget to walk to the calendar and do a tick mark. After our low numbers in April, we reevaluated in May. We added a reminder to the staff in our morning huddles. We re-recruited some champions, and that consisted of bedside nurses, physicians, and social workers, and of course us. We also decided that we would send a monthly email to our champions to share our data and to keep reading at the top of mind in our NICU. The nursing staff shared with us, they thought maybe it would be better to have individual calendars at every bedside for the parents to mark off when they read to their baby. So we brainstormed and we thought maybe a QR code would work better. Our social workers had a lot of success with increasing engagement in their parent support groups when they started using QR codes. So we thought we'd give it a try. We placed new signs all around the NICU and at every bedside, and we encouraged families to read to their baby every day. In the first week, we had 25 reading occurrences documented, which is amazing. It was a huge increase from, I think in April we had 11. Mm-hmm. And so far this month, we've had 45.
So here's Amanda and I. We started a bi-weekly reading rounds to promote and hand out the QR codes and to encourage families to read. This was another opportunity to educate and bring awareness to families and staff. And if you're wondering why we looked the way we looked, this was the week we celebrated Skin to Skin. So she had her kangaroo costume. I had my kangaroo ears that looked like bunny ears, but it's beside the point. So we try to make it fun still and captivating, and it was nice. It really, I think, is helpful because parents are showing interest, and if they didn't know it, they were very amazed at, knowing now that they can read to their babies. So it's really helpful.
We have a lot of future hopes and dreams for Storytime Snuggles. Eventually, we would love to have volunteers in our NICU to help with reading to our babies. Our NICU Family Council are all volunteers for the hospital, and they cannot wait to come back to interact with the families and read to our babies. We also want to expand our reading program to our sister units and mother baby, pediatrics, the PICU, and the congenital heart ICU. We know all the babies in those units will really benefit from having a reading program as well. We'd also like to create more education for our families to encourage them to keep reading in the NICU and beyond. We will be participating in the next Babies for Books readathon in September, and we plan to modify our raffle tickets to use the QR codes. Overall, we've had a lot of really positive feedback from our families, and we just wanted to share this short clip from one of our families from a media segment about our readathon. You can really hear how much it meant for the father to have the reading with his baby.
War was born very early, at less than 27 weeks and weighing less than 2 pounds. Now she's coming up on 7 pounds. Her dad says reading is helping her recovery.
Every single time I read to her, there is a visceral response. She relaxes, she goes right to sleep. Her heart rate drops, her respiratory rate drops, her saturation increases, and she's just at peace.
To kick off the program, Cedars-Sinai started a readathon competition, and families who read the most won a gift basket filled with books. Of course, Speaks and his wife were among the winners.
Being in the NICU, yes, I know it did a lot for her, but it's doing and done so much more for me, because I look forward to being able to take this escape with my daughter as we read, as we go on a journey. It provided a nice escape and a sense of normalcy. So I'd highly encourage any parent, especially fathers, to do so with their child.
So we just wanted to share that clip because that father, clearly, it was so meaningful to him. And I just love the way he describes the reading as it was a visceral response between his baby and him. You want to talk about the Father's Day gift?
Yeah, so this is the gift that our family council put together and the unit to give to our dads for Father's Day. So it's a book that says, "I love you, Daddy." And then there's a card that's included. And there's a few quotes from NICU dads from, years before. And a little, I wish we had put pictures on here, but just a quote about being a dad in the NICU. So it was really nice. And then one of our nurses put together, or she printed "Rad Like Dad" on beanies that we purchased, because we also now have a Cricut machine. So it's been fun to create all these fun things. But again, incorporating reading and promoting that in everything that we're able to, we really do take advantage of it. So that's what the last thing that we did.
These are all our references. So does anybody have questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. That was so good. So some questions about the QR codes, asking how it works. You scan it and it brings up a book or the title of a book.
Oh, that's a great question. So the QR code we created with a data collection service that we use called RedCap. And basically when they scan the QR code, it just has a picture. I think I could probably go back to the slide that just says, here at Cedars-Sinai, we highly recommend reading to your baby every day. And it's just to document that they read to their baby. So all they do is they press now and they submit it, and it goes into our data collection, basically, so that we can see how many times babies were read to in the NICU.
It's in its very simple form, but as we go, we're going to have to modify that if we want to add the parents' information, if you want to be able to contact them, especially for the readathon. And then I don't know if we're able to do the time, the frequency, and the time they start and end.
Okay, that's very interesting. So what kind of future plans do you have? Do you plan on growing your program?
Yeah, we absolutely want to grow our program to include all of the other units in our service line. So mother baby nursery, pediatrics, PICU, congenital heart ICU. We've had a couple of babies who went from our NICU to the PICU, and we knew their family very well. So they would just come, stop by the NICU and pick up a book. And we highly encourage them in the PICU to read to their babies. So we want to more formally grow it. But yeah, we absolutely continue to plan. We've been talking about plans for us to do a grant, apply for a grant so that we have books that we could give to our families. Because right now we only have enough that they share and we clean them in between every use. But future hopes and goals would be enough that they could have their own book to take home.
And also, once we're able to bring back our volunteers, we definitely plan on training them so that they're able to cross cover and provide coverage and reading to our patients in the NICU and the PICU and peds as well.
Yeah, I think that's so the volunteer component, I think for me was always really important because it's just reality. I mean, we absolutely want to engage and bring parents to the bedside, but it just is often impossible for parents to be there as much as, their baby needs for that sort of positive sensory input. And so partnering with volunteers to sort of like bridge that gap and say, hey, we're all part of this baby's team, trying to support their language development. I think that's really an amazing partnership that is so important, and maybe not one that people have necessarily thought about, seeking out those partners in their volunteer services. So can you talk a little bit more? You mentioned like getting a grant. So I think that for a lot of bedside nurses, like that sort of thing can be very intimidating. And who are the people that you sought out in your organization to help you with that?
So we haven't started that yet. That's our future goals for this next fiscal year. But yeah, we love the suggestions people gave earlier about the Girl Scouts and the Boy Scouts and just all of the suggestions in the chat. So we've been writing them down and definitely planning to look into all of those.
We're just thinking of groups and organizations that have community outreach programs, and maybe tapping into those and applying for those.
I know March of Dimes was initially involved with the reading program at Nemours. They provided us with support there. So that's another one to think about. And, they do have a budget, your local March of Dimes representatives, that they can help to support programs in your NICU, especially when you're talking about partnering with families. Other people are saying also high school counselors often have kids who need service hours. So that might be a good pipeline for readers. When we initially launched the Bookworms program, we did launch it with high school volunteers over the summer. I mean, that was obviously well before COVID, but that was something that gave us that manpower initially to have lots of readers. I don't know, does anyone else have any other questions?
We don't have any questions because we asked them all last time, but you guys did great.
Thank you so much. Wonderful talk.
Yeah, really great.
All right, I hope you enjoyed this presentation from Amanda and Joanne. If you'd like to get some handouts as well as some other resources, go ahead and either click the link in the show notes below or scan the QR code here on this screen. We'll go ahead and put you on the list to receive reminders, and you'll get exclusive access to some other lectures that we're not putting out on our YouTube channel. If you've enjoyed presentations like this, definitely click the subscribe button. It really helps us and lets YouTube know that you want to see more videos from us. So definitely subscribe to our channel. It helps us out a lot, and we'd love to see you on our next one. So anyways, thanks for being here.